Welcome back to the special edition of Black Enterprise Business Report. 35 years ago, our magazine reported only 72 African Americans served as a corporate board of directors. Today, that number has risen to 191, and they are successfully influencing 250 of the largest publicly traded corporations. We're talking one-on-one with 4 of the most powerful. This is a time, everyone, to keep it real, as we like to say. So we'd like to welcome Vernon Jordan, Senior Managing Director at Lazard, Fréres and Company. Mr. Jordan serves on the corporate boards of American Express Company and Xerox Corporation. John Rogers, Chairman and CEO of Ariel Capital Management, serves on the boards of McDonald's Corporation, Exelon and Aon Corporations. JOYCE Roche, President and CEO of Girls Incorporated. Ms. Roche serves on the boards of AT&T, Anheuser-Busch Companies Incorporated, and Macy's Incorporated. And Christopher Williams is Chairman and CEO of Williams Capital Group and Williams Capital Management. He serves on the board of Walmart Stores. Thank you all so much for being here. Let's start with the average shareholder. And for the sake of not being disrespectful, the average shareholder has no idea what you guys do, what any of you do on a board, and especially when it affects the stock that they bought a company in. And why is it so important that a shareholder know exactly who you are and the influence that you have on these companies? Let's start with you, Mr. Williams.
Well, I think a shareholder would want to know who the board of directors are, simply to understand what the skill sets are that they bring to the company. They are responsible for the oversight of the company's operations. They're responsible for providing direction to the senior management in terms of the strategic direction of the company. So I think that knowing the skills, the experiences of the board of directors gives you some insight into who is helping chart the direction of the company.
John, with that in mind, how has the dynamics of corporate boards changed over the years?
Well, they've changed dramatically over the last 7 or 8 years. After the Enron crisis, there's been so much more energy around how do you make sure you have the right type of directors on the board who can make a difference, stay on top of management, and make sure there are no shenanigans going on.
Joyce, there are so many companies today, especially within the last, let's say, 2 to 3 months, that are having multi-billion-dollar write-offs. And do you feel in any way, shape, or form that the boards should hold any responsibility in that?
Oh, talk about a loaded question. I think as a board member, and as John was just saying, I think we've gotten to another point, especially since Sarbanes-Oxley, where in fact it doesn't matter that whether or not you feel you got the information, you have to get the information. Shareholders are looking at the boards and holding us responsible for whatever happens at that company. So you really do have to push to ask the questions to try and get as far under the information as you can so that in fact you are informing the decisions that are there. So I think there is a role, and that's why as someone joining a board is always looking at what are the implications of joining this board and what is this company about and how comfortable am I with this company? Because it's critically important. There is a responsibility that you hold.
I would like to go back to your initial question. A shareholder does not know what's going on in the company. That is the shareholder's fault because there is information available. There's an annual report. There's a proxy statement.
Let's just say this. If you don't understand it, what is your advice to shareholders?
Well, I think that the shareholders can come to the annual meeting is a great way to really get exposed to the company, meet the key leaders in the company, and there are people usually around the room afterwards who are there to answer any questions and any follow-up that a shareholder might ask. So I think that's the best way. I always try to encourage people to come on down to the annual meeting and really immerse yourself in what's happening.
While disclosure is critical, we can do better, and I think companies are getting better at trying to make them more easily understood by
the process is making compensation explanations more explicit and more detailed and more simplified so that shareholders, average shareholders,
can understand.
You were talking about disclosure with the board, with shareholders, but how important is disclosure with the CEO, being honest to you and making sure that they communicate what's going on in the company so you can make solid decisions?
Yeah, but that is our responsibility.
Absolutely.
The CEO works for the board. He is responsible to the board. The largest, the most important responsibility that a board has is the hiring and firing of the chief executive officer.
So for all those folks who think that the CEO yields a lot of power, it's really the board who yields more power than the CEO.
But that's the way it should be.
That's good, yeah.
Ideally.
Yeah.
We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll continue our discussion with diversity in a boardroom. Don't go away.